Namaskar. We have seen that the ultimate truth is pure consciousness, which is ever existing, all pervading, never changing, all knowing, undifferentiated, invisible, unknowable nothingness, which the ancients called Parabrahman and Tantra called Paraseparate. Just for the sake of grasping the concept of creation in Tantra, you can compare Parabrahman with the analogy of a hot cup of coffee made of water, coffee, milk, sugar and heat. Such a cup of coffee is a homogeneous liquid, totally undifferentiated. Here, the water, coffee, milk, sugar and heat are analogous to the all-pervasiveness, eternal existence, all-knowing knowledge, unchangeability, etc. of the Parabrahman. We cannot separate these ingredients of the coffee back into their original standalone materials. Parabrahman is an undifferentiated and homogeneous existence like the coffee in the example. Now, imagine that the coffee thinks to itself, let me be many. At first, a portion of the coffee separates into water and heat instantly. Now, the state of the beverage coffee in the cup is similar to the state of Parabrahman. Parabrahman has become Parabrahman. Undifferentiated coffee has become differentiated coffee. A sound is then heard from the coffee in the cup. Thereafter, a bindu or a spot is formed in the body of the beverage coffee. Then this bindu bursts upwards, releasing separate spots of water, heat, coffee, sugar and milk. All these 5 spot formations are similar to the formation of Shiva Tattva, Shakti Tattva, Sadashiva Tattva, Ishwara Tattva and Vidyaa Tattva after the Big Bang. Under the leadership and direction of water and under the supervision of unit spots of coffee, sugar and milk, the unit spot heat continues to produce energy which gets converted into several units of matter floating in the general beverage coffee in the cup. What is floating in the coffee are analogous to the universe floating in the colossal ocean of invisible consciousness. When the will or Icha for creation arose in Parabrahman, Parabrahman thought the thinkable and spoke the speakable, Aham Bahusyam. Because Parabrahman has the ultimate Icha Shakti, Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti, or willpower, knowledge power and action power all rolled in together, a flurry of activities instantaneously started in a creative fervor. Parabrahman is all consciousness, analogous to the water in the hot coffee example. Shakti is the power of consciousness, similar to the heat in the coffee example. Likewise, the entire creation exists in the same consciousness of the Creator, and the same consciousness permeates and gives sentience to every creation to the degree designed in the blueprint Shakti received from Shiva. You and I, as well as everything seen and unseen around us, is floating in and enlivened by the same consciousness of Shiva. With the coffee example in place, now let me summarize the entire sequence of creation process as explained in Tantra for one final time. Parabrahman is the ultimate homogeneous reality, eternal, all-pervading, all-knowing, never-changing. Parabrahman is unknowable for us because we cannot have a subject-object relationship with Parabrahman. We can have only a subject-subject relationship with which knowledge is not possible because the knower in our body-mind attire and the Parabrahman is the same consciousness. When the Icha for creation develops in Parabrahman, Parabrahman becomes Aparabrahman. Aparabrahman, which is pure consciousness, reflects its own power, Shakti, as if in a mirror. That means what was previously a homogeneous existence now become two. Consciousness and its power become two separate existences. Now consciousness is called Shiva and the power of consciousness is called Shakti. There is a strong Maic bond of attraction that exists between Shiva and Shakti. Know that it is the same attraction that we experience between a man and woman in our embodied life on earth. Being two entities now, Tantra says, when both Shiva and Shakti come together in Maithuna, means in union, the resultant experience or thrill generated two things. The first is Nada or the sound Om, and the second is the formation of Bindu, a point with the covering of Maya. Maya is the concealing ability of Brahman. Maya is the instrument or Tattva that brings down or steps down the power of consciousness of all creations. We will talk more about Maya in a minute. Bindu cascades down into 5 lords or 5 Ishwaras of Shuddha Tattva to take the lead and to oversee the creation process and then maintain the creation and then to reabsorb the creation when required. Thereafter, 7 Suddha-Asuddha Tattvas and 24 Ashuddha Tattvas are formed for creating the mind and matter. Shakti Tattva is the progenitor or the mother of the universe and all its beings. Shiva Tattva is the master designer. Shiva Tattva is the father. For the sake of understanding, we can compare the roles of Shiva Tattva to that of a designer builder giving his blueprint to his own chosen builder who is Shakti Tattva. Think about it. It is the same thing that happens in childbirth. A father hands out the blueprint as sperm and the mother receives it in her womb and creates her own materials and generates the baby. Isn't it? We are all thus the children of Shiva Tattva and Shakti Tattva. All creations are our brothers and sisters. Everyone and everything in the universe is equally one of our siblings. Shiva Tattva is thus the principle of masculine gender. Shakti Tattva is the principle of feminine gender. Any giver of the directive force is the masculine gender, and any receiver of this directive force and executes it is the feminine gender. Principle of gender should not be confused with male and female principles. I will talk about the principle of gender on some other occasion. Now, let us understand that the Shiva Tattva and Shakti Tattva are our divine father and divine mother, and a real interpersonal relationship is very much possible with our divine father and divine mother and Ishwaras, based on pure love and devotion and not based on fear or conceptual bribing to get our limited things done. Let us move on now. We have seen that all creations and beings are created with the 24 Ashuddha Tattvas and 7 Suddha-Asuddha Tattvas. Who is the progenitor of these two categories of Tattvas? Shakti Tattva is the progenitor. And who produced Shakti Tattva? Shiva Tattva produced Shakti Tattva by mirroring his own power. So everything originates from Shiva Tattva and everything exists in Shiva Tattva, which is consciousness and nothing else. Creation is managed by Shiva Tattva and Shakti Tattva together with the Sadashiva Tattva, Ishwara Tattva and Shuddha Vidyaa Tattva, the 5 Shuddha Tattvas. Who is the progenitor of these 5 Shuddha Tattvas? Apara Brahman is the progenitor, which is the previous name of Shiva Tattva. Hope you have obtained a clear picture of the genesis now. Please roll it in your mind. You will get it. Surely you will get it. It is not rocket science anyway. Let us move on to the 7 Suddha-Asuddha Tattvas in this session. Now let us come to the first in the Suddha-Asuddha series, the Purusha Tattva. We have seen that we are all created objects, created with matter, produced by 7 Suddha-Asuddha Tattvas that we discuss now, and 24 Ashuddha Tattvas that we will be discussing in the next sessions. Essentially, we have three components for our bodily existence. We have our body, we have our mind, and then the real we, wearing this body mind attire. Body and mind are different from me. That is why I call it my body, my mind, etc. There is a cognitive I who is possessing the body and mind, isn't it? That is the cognitive I factor, or pure subjectivity, or pure awareness, or pure consciousness housed within this body-mind attire. The real knower within. This third factor, I, is consciousness. It is the same consciousness of Shiva Tattva. What does it mean? It means I and Shiva are the same consciousness. And so are you. It means we are all mini Shivas in principle. But in practice, we are nowhere near Shiva Tattva. Shiva is Satchit Ananda with Icha Shakti, Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti all rolled in one, and realization is instantaneous with thoughts for Shiva. Do we have any of these Shiva qualities? No, not at all. We are stepped down terribly. We are fallen very deep down. That stepping down process, that step down state of ours is called Purusha, the first of 7 Suddha-Asuddha Tattvas. We are actually Shiva, but right now we are in Purusha status. Purusha is Shiva severely disabled, to use a modern computer technology. How did that disabling happen? This disabling happened due to the mechanism of Maya and her 5 cohorts. I will explain the activity of these 6 limiting mechanisms or tattvas that Shakti Tattva uses in our making. Remember, Maya was born as a covering for the Bindu. Maya is the power of Brahman, which means Maya is the power of Shiva Tattva, which means it is the twin power of Shakti Tattva itself. Tantra defines Maya as that Tattva which brings down the unlimited to the limited, the immeasurable to the measurables. The pure Shiva consciousness in us and in every other manifested beings are severely limited by the application of these 6 tattvas, including Maya, namely Kala, Kaala, Niyati, Raaga and Vidyaa tattvas. We will look at all of them after we understand what is Maya. It is Maya Tattva that gives the soul a physical body and the tools it needs to lead a life on earth. A soul is a unit of consciousness that gives rise to an entity or individual by acquiring a mind or body or both in the process of creation. It is also Maya Tattva that gives karmic effects to the soul. It is the same Maya that gives jnana or knowledge as well as malam or impurities to the soul. Maya builds a fence of limitations around the soul and she is constantly watching the soul like a watchdog. In Tantra, mala or impurity refers to the pollution that Maya adds to the soul. There are 3 types of malas or impurities: Mayiga mala, Anava mala and Karmika mala. Maya is the one who adds Mayiga malam to all tattvas below Maya Tattva. Of the 5 Shuddha Tattvas above Maya Tattva, there is no Mayiga malam, there is only Anava malam. That is because of Shuddha Tattvas are all sovereign areas of Shiva consciousness or Shiva Tattva. Although Maya is under the sovereignty of Shiva, Maya was created by Bindu in Abara Brahman. Therefore, freedom of self-administration is allowed for Maya under the protection of Bindu. So, Maya adds her Mayiga malam to Tattva 6 to 36, all the 36 from 6. These malas or impurities are residing in Maya Tattva. Malas or impurities have no independent power whatsoever. Although the power of Maya has the freedom to use her power, the real freedom of power is the power to bring the soul down by its own power and to bring it back up again by its own power. Maya can only bring the soul down. she does not have the ability to bring the soul back up. Maya is another manifestation of Shakti herself. That is, Maya and Shakti are one and the same, but different only in the respective expressions in different functional roles. Maya pulls us down, but Shakti lifts us up. So please note that we need to take the help of Shakti Tattva to expand and lift our consciousness up. When the living soul removes the three malas within itself and regains the Shiva consciousness within itself, the Maya Tattva with her five entourage will vanish. These three malas or impurities of Maya are in the gross, subtle and the subtlest states. The most common is Karma Mala. Karma is related to our actions as well. The strong emotions that we have as a result of our actions, feeling that I am happy, I am sad, I am lucky, I am unlucky, I am angry, are mixed with the consciousness of the living soul. Such a mala is called Karmika Mala. The impurity of action, Karmika Mala, is the imprint of thoughts and feelings. In fact, those impressions fall on the personal consciousness of the living soul. That becomes Karma Mala. In short, the effect of all our experiences of happiness and sorrow as living souls take place according to the laws of karma. The law of karma is due to the principle of Maya. I will talk more on karma on some other occasion in the future. The next subtle impurity is called Mayiga Mala. The impurity causes a duality in one's own consciousness. That is the impurity of ignorance. This house is mine, this house is not mine, this man is my friend, he is my enemy, she is my wife, she is not my wife. This is Mayiga Mala, and this Mayiga Mala causes us to see everything different from us. We fail to see the Shiva consciousness in everything as it really is. We see things in duality, like mine and not mine, I and not I, etc. The third most important impurity is called Anava Mala. Even though the soul comes very close to the consciousness of Shiva Tattva at one point in our expansion of consciousness, the most subtle Anava Mala is the impurity that stops the soul from merging with Shiva consciousness. Even when I know I am Shiva, that awareness quickly disappears in me. The result is a feeling of I am incomplete. Of these three malas, only Karmika Mala is related to the work or actions we do. Anava Mala and Mayiga Mala are related to the way we see things. Maya reduces our five sensory abilities tremendously. Maya converts the immeasurable sound to measurable molecules of sound for us. For example, we can only hear sound waves between 20 Hz and 20,000 Hz. Likewise, our visual, tactile, olfactory senses, including our sense of taste, all have major limitations. Maya does all this by turning all of these into its own molecules. Our conscious mind can only handle 15 to 20 bits of information per second. But exposed to our five senses, there are actually 10 to 12 billion bits, that is 1000 to 1200 crores of bits of information in front of us every second. 10 billion pixels is available to our eyes every second. In addition to that, we are touching another billion bits of information with our skin every second. Then we have the availability of another billion bits of information along with the other three senses. But in a second, our conscious mind deciphers only about 15 to 20 bits of information. From this, we can see how inefficiently our conscious mind works. This is the work of Maya. Now, let us move to the five additional soldiers of Maya, namely Kala, Kalam, Niyati, Raaga and Vidyaa. Kaala Tattvam removes the immortality of the consciousness of the living soul in the physical world. Kala limits it to something that can exist in the material world only for a certain period of time. The soul is bound by three time segments of past, present, and future. Every experience has the seal of time on it. Kala is the length of time assigned to a soul. In Tantra, time is not infinite. For Kala, there are two modes of operation. One is pure time and the second is impure time. Pure time is not a time that can be measured by the wristwatch. It is a divine time. It is the quality of time. Divine things happen at pure times. Maya or laws of karma do not work at pure times. On the contrary, we, the living souls with physical body, live in a measurable impure time. For example, it is difficult to even for those who are addicted to alcohol to drink alcohol at 3 o'clock in the morning. But at 7 o'clock in the evening, there will be no difficulty for most people to do the same thing. This shows the influence of the quality of time on human minds. The ancient Greeks similarly classified time as kairos time, that is pure time, and chronos time, the impure time by watch. In ancient Mayan culture, time was also classified according to its quality. Next is Kalaa Tattvam, limits the great Kriya Shakti or creative power of the consciousness of the soul and turns it to a mere ordinary work. As a result of Maya, the omnipotent Kriya Shakti of Shiva becomes a mere action force limited when it comes to us. Our interest in spiritual matters is also limited by Kala. Now, Niyati Tattvam takes away the omnipresence of the consciousness of the living soul and limits it to something that exists only in a place at a time. Niyati is a string of fates, or Vidhi in Malayalam, Takdir in Hindi, that is strung in the thread of Kala or time. Fate is the particular location or place where a soul is destined to be present at a particular time, on a particular day, for a particular length of time. You might have surely heard of incidents where one person misses a flight that was going to be crashed soon after its takeoff. Fate is also the specific operations of the law of karma and their inevitable consequences. Niyati is also an experience that comes to the soul in accordance with its own karmic effects. Like Maya, Niyati too is a watchdog, observing the soul after erecting a barrier of limitations around the soul. The law of karma are enforced according to the Niyati Tattvam. Raaga Tattva limits the Icha Jnanam Kriya power of the soul consciousness to mere desires. As a result of the Raaga effect of Maya, our willpower is brought down to mere Raaga or desire or passion level. For example, our willpower is so bad that we cannot get up at 3 in the morning even after the alarm bell rings. The willpower of Shiva consciousness is omnipotent. The moment the willpower to do something arises in Shiva consciousness, the knowledge instantaneously brings about the action required for that. But in our case, when a desire arises in us, we have to acquire the necessary knowledge to do the action and then go about doing the actions needed, taking time and space. Raaga is also the passion of the soul to experience the world. Vidyaa Tattva limits the omniscient power of the soul's consciousness and transforms it into mere limited material knowledge. Shiva consciousness is complete knowledge with Icha Jnanam Kriya. Omniscient power is the ability to know the past, the future, and the present at the same time. Even our mundane knowledge itself is very limited. For example, when we are asked to think of a circle in our mind, we usually think just about that circle alone. The space outside the perimeter of the circle will not usually come into our awareness at that time. This is the nature of our limited knowledge due to the action of Vidyaa Tattva. Now, this completes the study of Suddha-Asuddha Tattvas, which includes Purusha, Maya, with the Maya's 5 sheets or Kanchugas, which are Kalaa, Kaala, Niyati, Raaga and Vidyaa. Now we will move to 24 Ashuddha Tattvas, but that is in the next sessions. Thank you.